even a fertility vision board or planner, anything that is going to prepare you for the next year or for starting your fertility journey, it's important that you understand or that you understand that your womb needs one main thing first. And it's not something physical like those things I've just mentioned, it's something energetic, and it's closure. So, this is so important because so many women overlook this, mainly because we've been taught and we've been trained through the media, through socialization, and all of these things. We've been taught that closure is not important, that we don't need closure to move on, or that we should just, get over something like a bad relationship or how somebody has perhaps mistreated us, that it's not important to get closure. However, your womb doesn't operate like that, right? Your womb is not a machine. We're not robots. In fact, your womb remembers and holds on to this energy. So that is why closure is so important. One reason why is because your womb is very cyclical. Similar to the seasons on this planet, your womb goes through different. Okay, so in order for us to move into this next season that we're all excited about, the new years, a new year, and new possibilities, it's important that we close out any unresolved energy or any like unprocessed emotions from this year. So again, your womb is aligned with the seasons. Okay, so you might not think about it like that, but it is. Okay, so just like in the springtime, in the summer, you feel renewed and rejuvenated and excited and filled with possibilities. Well, in December and in the months surrounding December, your womb goes through a closing phase, or it should be going through a closing phase. But if you watch my previous video, then you will understand that there are actually some womb cycles that you need to break in order to move into the next phase, or you can get stuck in the current phase that you're already in, right? So if we don't get this closure, which is so very important, then you can, again, either get stuck in the current cycle that you're in, and I discussed this in my previous video, and I will briefly go over it today. But you can check out my how to feel fertile again video here, or check the description for the video where I talk about the different cycles that your womb goes through. So you could either get stuck in your current cycle, or you could carry the energy from your current cycle, wherever you're at on your fertility journey. You can carry a lot of that unprocessed emotions or experiences into the next cycle. And the reason for this is because, unlike what people tell you to just, get over things and not get any closure, especially perhaps when it comes to something like miscarriage or loss or grief or any other, what would be considered negative emotions. Unlike what you have been hearing, your womb remembers, right? So your womb is going to hold on to that energy because energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? So if the energy is not being destroyed, what's happening to it? Well, your womb is carrying it into the next cycle. So if you're wondering, how can I end this cycle, or how can I, um, you know, end this season that you may be in, then that's what we're going to be talking about. So if you have been carrying unprocessed emotions, or any sort of unhealed grief, or if you've been feeling like that, like you need to close something, if you've been feeling that there's some lingering energy or even tension in your womb, or even just like in your energy, your emotions that you're carrying, in this video, I'm going to show you how to end the cycle out, so that way you can move forward with your fertility journey. So we're going to be talking about some signs that you are carrying some old energy. We're going to be talking about some solutions. And so one of the solutions, I'm just going to sort of go over this a little bit quickly with you here. One of those solutions is to align with the actual season that you're in. So when we're talking about closing the cycle, we're talking about like the winter months. We're talking about like anywhere between October, late October, November, December, January, and even into January for some people. Don't open that door. No. No. Okay, go tell somebody else. I can't right now. I've started this video like 3 times. Oh my God. So we're talking about December. December is an energy, it carries energy of down. It carries the energy of pausing, hibernation. It carries the right. And so when you align with that energy, you can more easily be able to end the cycle, because December is a portal. It's a portal for ending and integrating everything that has happened throughout the year. So again, check out my video on that as well. So today we're going to be again talking about how to know our signs of whether your womb is frozen or stuck in a previous cycle, and how to get closure so that again you can move on with your fertility cycle. So first of all, let's talk about what a fertility cycle is. I went deeper into this in my previous video, but this is actually a secret that not a lot of people know about, because when I say the word fertility cycle, the first thing that probably comes to your mind is your monthly cycle. Well, I'm not talking about your monthly cycle. Why? Because your eggs take 90 days to process. So when we're talking about the cycle of your eggs, that is about a 3-month process. And on the planet, there are 4 seasons that span about 3 months. So when we align with the egg cycle, okay, we're talking again about 4 cycles throughout the year, okay, and these cycles are, they're not just they're not just stale or stagnant, or they carry energy, right? So this energy is emotional. It has it carries imprints, and it carries details subconsciously that our brain picks up, our womb picks up, and our body picks up this frequency of. So it is beneficial that you know this, especially if you want to improve your fertility without, surgery, without IVF, and if you really want to create more of a connection with your womb, getting more alignment with your womb and with your body, and to prepare your body for fertility. This is really sort of like a next level way for you to begin to improve not only your fertility, but your body and your entire life in some instances, right? So aligning with the seasons is a very powerful way to be able to begin this process. And so there are 4 major cycles when we're talking about your fertility cycle. And the first one is the season of desire. So the season of desire, again, like I mentioned earlier, is when you're feeling renewed, rejuvenated, full of possibility and hope, and you're feeling connected. You start to feel like you're connected with whatever your goals and your visions are. And in some instances, if you're trying to conceive, or if you're wanting to conceive, you're going to feel more connected with your body and your womb, just because if that is your intention, if that's what you put out into the world, you're going to start to connect with that. However, not all seasons are like that, because the next season that comes after that. So if you want to imagine, if the season of desire is between like January to March, then the season that comes after, which is number 2, the season of effort, this could be between April and June, right? So the season of effort, which is number 2, this is where all of the things that you were feeling and all of your plans, they now require you to actually put in some work, right? And so, as you know, if you know about how my programs are ran and how I like to teach that you can effortlessly improve your fertility. Now, is this 100% effortless physically? No, but my process teaches that by you integrating and you practicing certain fertility rituals, it starts to feel effortless. Just like when you're going throughout your day, everything doesn't feel effortful to you. There are many things that feel effortless. And for some women, improving fertility is effortless because they have a certain habit or ritual or routine. And so that's what I teach in my fertility programs. And so, excuse the lighting for a second. We're just going to let this dim for a little bit. And the reason this is happening is crazy because it never happens, but I know exactly why. Um, so we're just gonna wait for that because, like, in case I want to edit the video, I might want to cut this out, and I don't want to be talking. Well, I don't know what the visuals look like. So again, um, the season of effort comes after the season of desire. And if you can imagine, the reason for that is because, again, you have to put everything that you planned, all your goals, everything that you said that you were going to do. Naturally, you know that, without works, that your visions and your hopes and your dreams are dead, right? So you actually have to start physically putting in some work. Now, like I teach in my programs, we like to, be a little more softer with ourselves. We like to be a little bit more restful. We like to be less forceful. So the season of effort kind of conflicts just a little bit depending on how you go about it. And this is where a lot of women can sort of just let go of. And so, we all know that sometimes people do New Year's resolutions and they usually quit by like the first or second or third week. Well, by the time your season of effort rolls around, this is also a time where a lot of women can quit, right? And so the season of effort is where you're still tracking, you're still taking supplements, you're still planning, and you're scheduling, and you're, going to appointments. This is a very physical, um, active, a very physically active sort of season for you, right? Whereas in January, there might have been a little bit more energetic, right? Or sorry, in the season of desire might have been a little bit more energetic. Well, then after the season of desire comes number 3, which is the season of disappointment and delay. Why? Because if you didn't have the proper support in your season of effort, then things can just start to feel so hard. It can start to feel too hard. So your season of disappointment and delay, this is like your waiting stage. This is where you're trying to wait to see whether all of the things that you were doing in your season of desire and your season of effort will manifest. And if you made it to your season of disappointment, you know, you really deserve a lot of support and encouragement in this stage, because again, not a lot of women make it to this stage. So congratulations to you if you are in this stage, right? So in the season of delay, again, this is also where the endless spiraling thoughts come in, where it's like you start to doubt everything that you've done. You start to possibly blame yourself. You start to question everything. You start to like retrack and maybe even slowly start to give up. Well, this is where almost all women who make it past the season of desire and the season of effort usually get stuck in. And so they never make it to the final stage, which is number 4, which is the season of integration. So in the season of integration, this is when you are processing, or you should be processing, everything that has occurred in the first 3 seasons. However, again, this can also be a difficult time, right? Because you're not only are you mentally trying to process this, but your womb is also processing this. So for all of like the negative thoughts that you've had, or all of the unprocessed emotions, everything, all of like the failed, um, some would say failed. I don't really like to use that word, but like we can go with that. All of the failed pregnancy tests or ovulation tests, if you have not got closure on that in the moment, or you have not set time aside throughout the year to get closure, well, your womb is going to remember all of that. Your womb is going to house and hold on to every disappointment that you had from the previous cycle. So every time that you said, oh, well, I'm not, I'm too old, I'm getting too old, or I should have had, children sooner, or I should have did this, or I should have did that. Your womb is going to hold on to all of that. So naturally, the season of integration is actually a really good stage, right? But for some, you can go into like a pseudo season of integration where your womb is sort of still processing things, but from a sort of automatic or and more of from like a more negative standpoint. So instead of processing, things like grief and pain and unresolved emotions in a way that is going to benefit you, it can process that now into physical data. We'll just say that. And so the physical data could, again, it could look like fibroids, it can look like endometriosis, it can look like polyps, it can look like cysts, PCOS. It can look like, tubal blockages. And again, the reason for this is because, energy is not being created or destroyed, right? So if it's not being processed, released, and let go, it's going to be held onto, right? So you can still be sort of in a season of integration, but it won't be a conscious one, and it won't be one that it won't necessarily be one that benefits you. So again, this is when your womb is also trying to slow down. But what's happening? What's happening at the end of the year? Okay, remember, the first 2 seasons, or the first 3 seasons, they kind of like align with the months of the year. So by the time you get to the season of integration, which again can be like any time between October to December, maybe even into January for some women, there's a lot of rushing happening. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of, hurry up and be here, do this, purchase this, plan this, be at this event. And so we're talking about the holidays that are occurring back to back from October all the way to March. Okay. If you think about, like, we have March break. I think May might be like one of the only months, May, June, July might be one of like the only months where there's not like a national sort of like holiday. But even in March, people are still not really fully able to like enjoy like a March break, and they've even shortened it for some people. And of course, if you're an adult, like March break, we're really just talking about going on holidays, and so that can be a little, rushing. There could be some rushing, getting some stress involved in that, right? So if you're not able to slow down and to fully experience this integration phase, then your womb will have its own little integration phase, and it won't be integrating what you want, right? So again, most women get stuck in this fourth phase, and instead of processing this information, they roll this pain, and they roll whatever pain they've experienced, any unprocessed emotions or unprocessed grief, into the next cycle. And so what that means is that they don't get any closure. Okay, so if you don't get any closure, that means that your womb is going to hold on to this information, because again, your womb is like a library. Your womb houses, DNA, it houses energy, it houses information and inscriptions, okay? And it imprints this within itself, okay, energetically, and in some cases, even physically. So if you don't release and let go, you don't get closure, again, it just moves on into your what should be your next season, but you're not really going to be able to experience that season fully, because you're still going to be having moments where energetically you're unbalanced or unaligned, because your body's still hopping back and forth between grief and creating new plans, unprocessed pain and emotions, and setting, new goals, and practicing new routines, and getting involved in doing new things to hopefully improve your fertility. But when you still have, again, those doubts and those thoughts creeping up because you haven't brought them to the surface and you haven't dealt with them, right? So you're probably wondering, okay, well, what are some signs that my body is still in the past cycle? Okay, so before we go into this, again, I just want to remind you that you don't need another protocol. You don't need another protocols, sis. You have been doing all the protocols. So if you're watching this video, it's time for you to do the energetic alignment that is necessary. Okay. So that is what I help you with in my fertility reset, where I help guide you on how to improve your fertility with the things that you already know, the things that you are already preparing, the things that you are already doing, and we just align it more with your routine, with fitting it into your schedule, and being able to do some mindset work and some womb work and body work to help to integrate everything into something that feels seamless and effortless for you to do after you learn how to, again, create this alignment for yourself. So what you need at the end of the day is closure from your previous cycles, right? Closure from the fear, closure from the grief, and again, all of those unprocessed emotions, negative tests, negative energy, and all of things. And so is such a magical and wonderful time, because December, naturally, in December, we are more willing to let go. We are sort of expecting to just like be done with whatever went on throughout the year, where we're ready to move on. So December truly is like a portal. Again, it works better. This portal, okay, if you want to say that, works better when we are consciously aware of the phase and the energy that we're in, because for most people it's really just we're really just acknowledging December sort of on an automatic basis, not really on a conscious awareness level, right? And so again, so December is an easy season for us, or an easy month for us to shift out of either the season of disappointment and delay, or to shift even into the integration phase, so we can shift out of it. Okay, if we're consciously aware of this. And so after watching this, you will be consciously aware, right? So again, to shift out of the season of disappointment is what December is for. It's an energetic end, right? And this is because your womb is more willing to let go more easily. So the 6 energies that you want to break before we get into some more signs, before we get into the signs, the 6 energies that you want to break. Again, I made a video that's called 3 energies to break before the year end, all right, in the caption, but the 6 energies, okay, that you want to break. And I'm giving you 6 in this video. The other video just has 3. Is the energy of rushing. So this is where you're feeling like you need to be somewhere, you need to do something, that you are not where you need to be, right? And so you're just quickly trying to move into the next phase. So I just want to give you this. I just want to go in deeper on this with you. I don't even have it here, but yeah. So that's what that is. Okay, the season of rushing. The energy of rushing. Then you have the energy of over responsibility. So this energy of over responsibility again is where you're becoming like a caretaker for everyone and for everything. You're taking all of the load on your back. You're feeling like you have to do everything, and you have to do everything by yourself. And especially when it comes to fertility, if that's the case, it's not really good. Like if you have a partner and you're feeling like you're the only one that is seeking out solutions, you're the only one going to appointments, you're the only one researching, looking things up, taking supplements, you're the only one preparing healthy meals, you're the only one trying to, meditate and relax, or do even the body work like yoni steaming. Like if you're at that level, okay, for some women they're not even at that level where they know they need to do things. But if even when you get to the level where, okay, well, you need to yoni steam and womb massage and deep breathe and meditate, even if you get to that stage, it can still be kind of difficult if you're doing all of this even energetic work and your partner is not doing any of it, right? So you need to break that energy, especially if you are at that level where you're doing the mind, body, and soul work and you have a partner that's not doing it. Break that energy, sis. Number 3 is the energy of grief. Okay. So this is the energy of like if you've experienced loss, or if you've experienced, again, any sort of regret, or if you've experienced, again, disappointment and delay, and you haven't been able to fully process that, that's an energy that you want. And then there's energy of the overachiever, okay? And this is just pure pressure. This is you trying to be perfect with everything, trying to have all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted, and trying to make sure everything looks right or is presentable. And what it amounts to is just performance, okay? So we're talking about things just trying to be rated and cute and like overly, in some cases even over the top. Well, if you have an overachieving energy, it's really journey, and as it relates to your fertility, it could actually be blocking your fertility, because this energy puts too much pressure on your nervous system, and it tells your body you're not safe. You're not safe if you don't get it done right. You're not safe if everybody doesn't think that you're perfect. You're not safe if, you know, you didn't take exactly, I don't know, 2 capsules of herbs every single day straight for the last 90 days. No, there's no need to be an overachiever. There's room, and it's okay to have space for, for flow. Like, some will call it mistakes, some will call it accidents, but it's okay to have space and to give yourself some grace, right? The fifth energy is the shame loop. So this is where you start feeling, again, you start feeling shame about like past cycles, and especially when people are asking you, oh, when are you going to conceive? Or if you've had a miscarriage and you're telling yourself that it's your fault, or that your body is broken, or that there's something wrong with you. This shame loop, okay, is one that you can get really trapped into, where because of your shame, you try to overcompensate, and you can end up back in the overachiever. You can end up being, again, over responsible or rushing. So this shame loop can sort of get you trapped in all of these 6 loops. And the 6th one is distress. Okay, so where you start to distrust your womb. You hear a lot of people saying, a lot of women saying, my womb hates me, my womb is trying to kill me, my womb doesn't like me. They're speaking from a place of distress, So yes, there could be a lot of pain when it comes to menstrual cycles, and even miscarriages and things like this. However, when you are verbalizing this, and when you're thinking this, and even when you're making jokes of it and other people are hearing, it's like, so now it's being sort of reconfirmed by complete strangers, maybe online, or just like maybe you're in a group where everybody is just like chanting, my womb hates me, and things like that. I don't even like saying that. I don't even want to say that. It just feels weird. I was about to go on a full-on jet. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. So I hope you're not doing that either. Like literally, I was about to go on a whole, I can't break that cycle, sis. Okay. And so when you don't trust your womb, your body and your womb is not going to respond the way that you want it to, because it's used to you not trusting it. It's used to you casting it out. It's used to you being like, nothing else. It's used to you just sort of hating on your womb, thinking your womb is hating on you, when it's really not. Your womb is help you, right? So those are 6 signs that you should really break. And again, if you want to break down, check out the video that I have on the 3 womb cycles that you need to break, where we go really deep into the first 3. So the four signs that your womb is frozen or stuck in the past cycle is, again, number 1, pelvic tension. So this is especially if the tension lingers. So if you're feeling, okay, so let me just explain, because I've experienced this recently, and it was one of the worst feelings. Okay, so recently there was an earthquake here in Georgia. And before the earthquake had even happened, I had been feeling this. I can pick up on earthquakes pretty good, especially since I've been to LA. I was able to feel the earth tremor and everyone. So we recently had an earthquake here in Georgia. And since that earthquake happened, which was about I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, my womb, it felt hard, it felt tense, it felt, I don't want to say jittery, but it felt like it closed up. It felt like a rock. Like you could physically, it didn't feel that way, but the energy that I felt, and it was pain. Like it was almost painful. It hurt. Like it. Um, I want to say it felt abused. Okay, and this tension came from the hurricane. I was laying in my bed. So I was laying in my bed, and as I was laying in my bed, you could just imagine my womb was like shook. I could feel it shaking when the earthquake happened. I could feel the way the earth was shaking. The earth was shaking like this. It wasn't shaking like up and down. It was going sideways. So my womb was just getting, tussled. Tussled in my little belly. Yeah, maybe not a little, but it was getting tussled. And I felt it. Okay. So I don't know, that might be an extreme way to explain pelvic tension, but another way could be like if you feel tight, if you feel um, congested, even heavy for some women. Okay, so that's a sign that you could be stuck in a previous cycle, and because what happened is it never went away. It never went away on its own. That pain stayed with me for a couple of months, and it was only really when I started getting back into my fertility or the tension. It was more like a tension, but I almost feel like I remember it almost kind of like subtly hurting because it was like that for so long that it just like pain was like the only release that sort of came on its own. Okay, before I was able to do my womb work. So if you're experiencing that again, that's something that you really need to work on closing or getting out of that season, out of that cycle. So number two, the second sign that your womb is frozen and stuck in the past is if you're over tracking. Okay, so you could be over tracking your cycles or your ovulation, like your temperatures, your positioning, and like, of course things that come along with that, like your period, how many days and things like that. You could be over tracking, and it could not be a good thing. Okay, it could not be a good thing if you're over tracking. Again, you could be being too analytical. You could be um tracking from a space of, again, fear or FOMO, feeling like you're going to miss out or like you're going to miss something. And if you're tracking for reasons other than like, you really need to, then again, this could be a sign that you're stuck in the past. And so there's nothing wrong with tracking your cycle consistently and almost like religiously when you first start cycle tracking. However, if you're still over tracking long after you've already established your cycle, your dates, like, so that you have a generally like a 28-day cycle, or of course not every woman is like that, but like a 28, 29 up to 35-day cycle. If you are still over tracking after you've established that you actually ovulate, okay, because for some women, a lot of women I talk to, they don't know if they're actually ovulating, or some women are they may not also know if they're actually getting a real period. So if you have PCOS and you're not getting a period every month or every 28 to 35 days, but maybe you're spotting, okay, you're counting that as a cycle, okay, but maybe after you've started tracking, you've learned, oh, that's not a real period, that's just like breakthrough bleeding. Okay, so if you're still tracking long after you've established your patterns, that could actually be working against you too. Again, that's coming from a place of fear for some women. It could be coming from a place of, again, distrust, right? So the next one is, again, shame. So we talked a little bit about that, but shame is also a sign that you're stuck in a past cycle, as well as an energy that you need to break. All of those energies that I said that you need to break are also signs. So if you're also rushing, but these four are ones that I really want you to pay attention to. So number three, shame, it freezes the womb. It locks your womb down because you're ashamed of your womb, so you don't even want to touch it. You don't even want to go there, because as soon as you start thinking about your womb, you might start thinking about, the cycle that never went the way that you wanted it to. Maybe you didn't get your period. Maybe you did get your period. Maybe you had a miscarriage. Maybe your fibroids or endometriosis, it really hurts. So you start to feel ashamed that this is you and this is your body and that this is what you're going through. Well, that's obviously a sign that you need to close out something energetically, because especially if everything else you've tried has not been working, you've been taking medication, surgery, and you've done all those things. If those things that you've tried physically are not working, this is a sign that you need to energetically close the cycle. So number 4 is the I should be blank, blank, blank thoughts. Okay, so if you're thinking you should be here, you should be there by now, or you should have this or that by now, that is that is like a big red flag. Okay, because the minute we start thinking about where we should be, you stop being able to see where you are. You're no longer living in the present. You're no longer able to take control and to take charge of what is happening right in the here and now. So this is a big, huge problem, because one of the biggest issues with being able to move forward from the season that you're in is getting stuck in a past season mentally. So if you're mentally verbalizing these things, or these thoughts are playing in your head, then it's hard to see the possibilities right now. Like, it's hard to move into the next season of desire. It's hard to have desire if you're stuck, again, judging and criticizing where you currently are, right? So the good news is that you can break out of all of these cycles. You can break out of each one of these, right? And you can unlock your womb, and you can move into your next season. And you can do all this without having to reset or restart from scratch. And that's the beauty of my fertility reset, is that we're not exactly starting over from scratch. We're doing an assessment of where you are, and then I provide you with a fertility action plan that is right for you based on whatever season in life that you're in. So you can learn more about that in the description, right? So again, you're not starting from scratch. Instead, you're also not starting from effort or from any extra force. You're starting from softness and slowness instead, okay? And so that is a way to approach everything. And I guess I just want to take this note right now, because there's just this like overwhelming, growing pressure for everybody to be AI sort of like equipped and AI articulate. And like, I'm someone from a tech background. Say all the time, my dad was a computer programmer. I've taken computer programming in school. I'm still studying computer programming here and there. I'm building like apps and websites and things like that. But the pressure to sort of conform and align with this AI is coming from a very rushed energy, and like, you don't need to look far to figure that out. It's coming from a very pressure induced, fear induced standpoint and mode, right? And so if you're on this journey and you're coming across things that are like AI centric regarding your fertility, whatever that is, I want you to take a moment and just like pause. I need to do a whole separate video on this. But even if you're like using AI to try to figure out some things for your fertility, I really want to encourage you to pause. Okay, don't be doing everything that ChatGPT or Claude or whatever any of these AI companies tell you to do. AI is purposely given wrong information when it comes to herbs. Like, I haven't noticed this with anything else that I use AI as I do when it comes to herbal information. It will completely throw you off and give you might be allergic to give you herbs that you are that is not beneficial for your fertility. So that's why it's so important that, again, you have some fertility support from somebody who is qualified, adept, somebody who is experienced like myself. Okay, especially if you are trying to do this the natural route, and if you are trying to do this the solo route. Again, I want to caution you that you may be in the in the overachiever or the over responsibility sort of lockdown, okay, womb lockdown. So be very careful if you're using AI, because again, AI, just the nature of using AI, kind of like kind of funnels you into like this rush mode. So be very careful, okay, because I feel like the whole planet, as far as AI related, is in a cortisol, high stress induced hypnosis. Okay, so ideally, I think we're going to have to. It would be very beneficial to like have less AI in our lives, even though it may not be 100% avoidable. I just want to just put that out there, just to have some caution when it comes to AI, and to see the similarities to AI and the current society that we live in, and how it is sort of like anti-slow, it's anti-boom, it's anti-fertility if it's not used in the right way. Okay, if it's not used in a slow way that promotes slowness and softness. And that's just my little rant. Let's get back into it. I don't know why I did that, but yes, I should have made another video, but I'll see. No, it's perfect. This is divine. There's no I should have. I can make another video. I perhaps will make another video, but hey, I made that statement and I'm just gonna leave that right there. So you see how I closed that out? Like, it was fine. I did the right thing, right? So again, we're going to move on, right? So here's how to end your fertility cycle energetically. I spoke a little bit about this in my other video as well. So check that out as well. But we're going to dive into it today because I want this to be a concise video, because again, as I may have mentioned, because this is like my third take, I want this video to be like a compilation of all the other videos I did. So again, this is where the magic happens, okay? Because it's not about physical action necessarily or effort. This is about ritual. Again, so when I say ritual, some people might get a little spooked out, but I want you to rest assured that this is nothing spooky. I'm not gonna pull you into my divine womb coven. Maybe I will. What's wrong with that? Nothing. But when I'm talking about ritual, I'm really talking about repetition and consistency. Okay, so whenever you hear me talk about fertility rituals, for the most part, I'm talking about repetition and consistency, because that is what a lot of women lack: repetition, consistency, and some accountability. Okay, and it's also about moving with intention and being able to energetically release these emotions, feelings, and other things that have come up throughout the year. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is some womb breathing. Okay, so womb breathing is like one of the easiest things that you can do, and there's actually easier things that you can do, but for some women, womb breathing I find is a very good integrative practice, because while other things can be easier, like visualizing and meditating, there could still be a lot of sort of mental gymnastics to get around seeing the benefits and possibilities that simply sitting still and meditating will have. Well, when you're meditating and when you're visualizing, you have to breathe anyways, right? So we're going to start there. So womb breathing is one thing that you can do, and it's really you breathing deeply into your womb. So if you want to try this with me really quick, you're going to place one hand on your heart and place one hand on your womb, and then take a deep breath and imagine warm air blowing deep down into the womb. Okay, and see, when I start doing that, I'm already ready to go. I'm already ready to tell you to like visualize healing energy and a glowing orb or ball filled with healing, life-giving, fertile energy radiating your womb. Like, I'm ready to go. If you want to hear more about this womb breathing practice, or if you want a deep but quick, kind of short mini ceremony, I do have a link in the description for you to access a audio, so an MP3 ceremony where, again, I do some deep guided um, work, womb work for you and help you guide you and help to guide you through that. So you can check the description or the show notes. But yeah, so this breathing exercise will help to dissolve the tension. It will help to dissolve the stagnation. It will help to dissolve the tightness. Okay. And any stress patterns or sort of timelines. And that is one thing that I did when I told you that I experienced the earthquake. So the next thing is to include heat or grounding energy. So again, I talked about this in my video, How to Feel Fertile again, but very succinctly, we will just mention it here. So again, warmth and heat will signal to your body and your womb that you are safe and that you are well. And again, that there's nothing for you to worry about. You don't have to run away from a tiger or whatever stress that you're experiencing is not going to outweigh you being able to sit still and rest. So you can use a blanket and cover your sort of your legs and your womb area a little bit, and make sure to cover your back. Wear socks when you're doing your womb breathing exercise. Okay, you can use a heating pad, or you can use a heater. You can even use a hot water bottle. My daughter loves a hot water bottle, and I used to use a hot water bottle a lot when I first, experienced menstrual pain way back, which I don't anymore because I've been doing all of these beautiful practices, right? And one of my favorite things to do is actually to yoni steam. So as you can see here, yoni steam, yoni steams are these herbs, and they are specially formulated for your exact fertility issue. So whether you have tubal blockages, whether you have growths, abnormal growths in the womb. I create formulated herbs or formulated yoni steams just for you. So I do have these are some of my bestseller yoni steams that are created for different types of issues that women face, such as my womb restorer, my ovublend, and my endosis. So the link for those are in the description as well. But yoni steaming is actually one of my favorite ways to add heat to your womb, to tell your body that you are safe, and as well as to ground you. Okay, so another way you can ground yourself is to take your go outside in nature barefoot and ground your feet in the earth. But unless you live somewhere that is really warm and sunny in December, okay, when we're trying to align with this portal, then you actually placing your feet on the cold ground can actually work against you. So yoni steaming is actually a very beneficial way to ground your energy and to be able to close out this year. Okay, and so by doing that, it's regenerative. It helps you to directly connect to your womb, because the heat is rising. So as the heat is rising, it's turning on receptors. You're feeling the heat. So your conscience is focused on the womb. So you're consciously like aware of your womb, as opposed to it being blocked, it being frozen. Okay, so think about it. When we're talking about your womb being frozen, it means like you don't have that connection, and it's sort of like locked or blocked or distant from you. Well, when you're yoni steaming, your womb sort of like opens up like a beautiful flower, and it starts to be able to release more naturally. So this is also a good way to ground in order to end the season or your cycle energetically. So number 3 is grieving, right? So this is again another one of the most overlooked steps that every woman should have as part of their fertility. Um, I don't want to say protocol, but like, as part of your fertility journey. I'll just say that, right? Because it's so easy to just move on to the next thing or into something new when you're coming from pain and hurt. Like it almost like you're trying to run away from something by getting into, an intense fertility 9-month protocol. Well, unless the protocol includes, the steps that we're talking about here today, um, you know, closing the cycle energetically and things like that, unless it includes that, then if you've not fully grieved, if you've not fully, again, processed those unhealed emotions, or even just what you felt, you know, um, again, you're going to carry that into whatever the next thing is, and you will be sort of dread. Your energy and your emotion will constantly be bouncing back and forth between desire and delight and pain and suffering, optimism and pessimistic thoughts and things like this, right? So conscious grieving is really important. Okay. And so this is what we're talking about here is like active grieving. We're talking about fully embracing those painful and hurtful emotions and not just trying to sweep them under the rug and act like they're not affecting you in any way, shape, or form. And if you're from anywhere up north where, it's cold and we be mean mugging the man them when they're trying to holler at us, you know exactly what I mean about acting like things don't affect you. Okay. So especially for all my screw face girl them from Toronto, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's really important to again process any type of emotions, right? Because if you're not processing them, then your womb is essentially closing up. So we're going back to it being locked, back to it being frozen. And this is why sometimes when you do start to practice the meditation and the womb work, these emotions they come up. Because say, for example, if you're yoni steaming and you've been holding on so long to negative pain and emotions, when you finally do something like a yoni steam, you might find yourself crying, grieving, and not necessarily understand why am I grieving right now. I'm yoni steaming, you know, and all these emotions can come up. You can start finding yourself like almost uncontrollably crying or crying from like a very deep base, sort of like root chakra um, place that is like, that has been anchoring you down and making you feel heavy and making you feel weighted. And I'm creating a video on that as well. So if you want to check out my video on why this year feels so heavy or felt so heavy, check that out as well. Then, so that can happen when you're doing this thing because you haven't processed previous emotions or grief. So think about, any times where this has happened for you, and take that as your sign. Take that as your sign that you had some unprocessed energy or grief, or you were stuck in your season of disappointment. So there are, I have some questions that you can do while you are doing your grieving, your active grieving, your integrative. Again, this is conscious grieving. So while it's not the most sexy, it's not the most desirable thing to do. Again, we're not in the season of desire necessarily right now. Maybe if you started early, some of you are. But if you're in your season of processing, then here are some questions that you can process. So I created 6 questions for you to process in my my fertility, what is it called? My fertility reflections, okay? Which is a more, I don't want to say extensive or intensive, but we do some deeper work in that guide, okay? Then just the ceremony. The ceremony is like everyone should go get the ceremony now. So go to the link in my description or the show notes and get the ceremony. You can listen to it while you are you know, when you wake up in the morning or before you go to bed. Okay, but my fertility reflections includes 6 journaling questions and prompts for you to, again, help to close out the year. And so I'm going to read 3 of them for you right now, if I can find them. Actually, do I have it here? I think I have it here. And I also made a video of this, but I still want to run these by you right now. And I'm making this video live, so bear with me. Okay, so here they are. Here they are. So the first 3 questions are to help you to close this year out. Is number 1 is, what did I carry in my womb that wasn't mine? Okay, so remember, we have a one hand on our heart, one hand on our womb. We are breathing deep, visualizing the warm, filled with life-giving energy, okay, flowing to our womb. We are also grounded and heated. Maybe your yoni steaming while you're doing this. You have your blanket on, you're aligned, you're consciously breathing, and you're asking yourself, what did I carry? You're asking your womb, what did I carry that was not mine? So think about that connection if you're just listening. Think about the connection. Your hand is on your heart and your hand is on your womb. Okay, something is going to come up. Make sure to get the ceremony to listen to this so you can, again, be more consciously integratively doing this. Okay, remember, this is the season of integration, so it's really important that you're actually doing this. Like, I'm not just making this YouTube video just to have a video. I really want you to be able to follow along and to do this. So number 2, okay, is, where did I abandon my softness to survive the stress of my fertility journey? Where did I abandon my softness to survive the stress of my TT journey this year? Okay, or whatever it is, however you want to end that statement. So again, for if you've experienced, like, you know, something as painful as a miscarriage, it's possible that you try to distract yourself or make yourself more busy, or to blame yourself, or to, again, rush into trying to conceive again, to rush into trying to have another baby without, you know, dealing with the pain or the grief of the loss, you know, I mean, without even making sure that your body felt safe again. You know, sure, you can take more supplements, and it's really, you need to, your body needs supplementation. I personally would suggest some sea moss and some teas formulated just for you, which I also make, and you get it in this big package right here, formulated just for you with herbs based on your chart. While that's good and that's essential and that's needed, the energetic work is definitely needed, above and beyond that, right? You could be dealing with, again, shame. You can be dealing with whatever it is. You need to ask yourself, I encourage you to ask yourself, ask your womb, okay, where did I abandon my softness in order to survive the stress of my fertility journey this year? So the next question that you can ask your womb is, what was the most tender moment of my journey this year? So those are just 3 of the 6 questions. There's actually even more than that. But if you get my fertility reflections guide, you will get all 6 of those questions, plus the womb, I believe the womb ceremony as well. But make sure to get yourself a copy of that, because, you know, it's not going to be available forever. This is for this winter, December season, right? That I am running this for. So there's 6 more just to show you. So make sure you go and get yourself some of those in the guide. Okay, and again, it's not just a PDF, it's not just a guide. This is a ceremony for you, and it's a womb reflection. So I'm really hoping that it is put to good use, and that you can close out your fertility year the way that you deserve and that you should, right? So number 4, the fourth way to end your fertility cycle is to shed old timelines, right? So for this, you will want to close your eyes, keep your eyes closed if you aren't, or if you don't have them closed, right? And you want to visualize a calendar, and you want to visualize sort of like energetic imprints of like dates and scheduled appointments and times where you thought you were going to be here by now, or you should have been this by now. Any sort of like energetic, like, pressure that can be like written down. Imagine that written on the calendar, like put it all on your 12-month calendar, okay? And then you want to visualize all of those words, all of those letters sort of breaking apart and fading and rising up off the page, okay? Right, even the page itself dissolving, deteriorating, decaying, okay? Just like we're in the winter season where the leaves fall and they decay and they touch the ground, and then they get transmuted back into fertile soil for the next year. Visualize that for all of the negative negatively associated like goals that you've had, or timelines, like anything that has made you feel pressure or stress this year that you can imagine going on a calendar. Visualize that stuff just decaying, departicularizing. Okay, is that a word? Departicularizing? Okay. We're gonna figure that one out, aren't we? But yeah, visualize that. Visualize that decaying, breaking apart. You can even visualize it sort of like fading away like smoke or incense into the abyss to be no more. Okay, so again, energy is not created or destroyed, but it can be transmuted. Okay, when that thing is fading away, it's no longer being carried in your womb. So we want to bring that out. We want to put your hand on your heart and your womb and think about those timelines that you're carrying deep inside of you. You should have been, you're too old, you're this, you're that. You should have been here by now. What you should have did 2 weeks ago. Why didn't you drink water at 8 o'clock in the morning? You forgot to track. You didn't have intercourse when you ovulated, or you're trying to struggle to make sure that you do. Put that on that little imaginary calendar and watch it fade away. Okay, so you can also say an affirmation along with this, and I have a powerful affirmation in the fertility reflections for you to help to guide you with this as well. And actually, let me give you one right now. I want to leave you with something, because I know that like even just doing these steps, even without like the full deeper version, is going to be really powerful. So you can say, I am closing a new timeline for my womb cycle. So after you've done all the 4 steps, hand on your heart, hand on your womb, I am closing an old timeline for my cycle. Or sorry, I'm closing an old timeline for my cycle, and then I am choosing a new timeline for my cycle. So I'm just making more affirmations on the spot. But yeah, that is a good one. I am closing an old timeline for my cycle, and I am choosing a new timeline for my cycle. So there, I gave you 2. Okay. So this is how you close your womb cycle energetically. Okay, by integrating all of these things that I talked about. This will help you to enter into your season of desire Okay, again, more smoothly, more effortlessly, without all of the extra weight and baggage from the previous year. Okay, it will also help to make your future year more fertile, because if your mind has less things to sort of worry about and think about and process, if your womb has less energy to process, less old stagnant energy, sorry, it's winter, so my sinuses are a little wonky. But if you have less energy to process, then again, it could be lighter, and it cannot be as heavy. It can be, more receptive, right? So this is how you close your fertility cycle energetically. Okay. So now that you know that this is how you close your fertility cycle energetically, you can make um, the choice to step into your season of desire, okay, from actual desire, not from fear, not from pressure, not from force, okay, not from stagnation, not from feeling like you better hurry up and, you know, get ready for the new year or make new plans or anything like that, right? And so, and this is what the issue is with most fertility vision boards and most boards, period. Most of them are done from a place of fear, from a place of panic, from a place of pressure, from a place of almost like overcompensating for disappointment or the delay, and from even from like over effort that they've put in the last year, or maybe now they even want to do more effort, or like just start the cycle all over again. Okay, no, we're breaking that cycle. Okay, so instead of moving into the year from misalignment and rush and that hurry up before I'm too late, you can now enter into the next year from a place of slowness, from a place of softness. Okay, so this is what I like to call the next phase is what I like to call your fertility vision mapping experience. Okay, and so your fertility vision mapping experience, because when you think about fertility vision mapping, it's not just physical. We're also talking about mapping with our mind. We're talking about mapping with our heart and mapping with our womb. So that total mind, body, and soul integration. And again, that's what this is about. This whole season is about integration, right? And so when we're talking about this integration phase, you're really talking about putting what your soul wants, what your womb wants. And it's important to pay attention to what our womb wants. Like sometimes when I talk like this, it might sound weird. Okay, what do you mean? What does my womb want? Why would my womb want anything? My womb is not a person. Well, your womb it's more than an organ. It's not just a machine. I'm not talking about it from a machine standpoint, but again, energetically, your womb desires and requires certain things in order for it to carry out its function. Because again, your womb is giving out frequency. Your womb is listening. Your womb, you can think of your womb almost like a second brain, and almost like like a portal to other worlds, a portal to your baby. So we want to give our womb what she wants, right? So let me see here. Right. So you're choosing timelines. Okay, in this instance, you're not just falling victim or operating based on whims. You're choosing timelines. When you're able to close a fertility cycle, you're able to step into a new cycle simply because you chose to do so, right? And when you're doing your fertility mapping experience, you're able to learn how to align more with the future version of yourself that your womb has already healed. Okay, your womb has already processed all of the emotions and all of the grief. You're able to step into that version of yourself, and that's powerful, especially if you're wanting to hold your baby, especially if you're wanting to conceive naturally, right? And so, if you are wanting to experience a visual or fertility vision mapping experience, I definitely would love to invite you to something I have in the works. Okay, you can check the show notes for that. And so, again, if this has helped you find closure in any way, if you have felt any softness or any shift in your womb, and if you can feel a slight release or like a lifting of previous timelines, then I just want you to know that you're in the right place. Okay, so you don't need to rush into the next year. You don't need to feel any type of pressure to conform with anything that's going on in this world. You're in the right place. So again, in the next few days, like I said, something big is coming. And so make sure that you subscribe to this. Make sure that you are following. Make sure that you are commenting to let me know your thoughts on this video or this topic. And make sure that if you're listening to this on Amazon or Spotify, that you as well. Right? So remember to check the show notes for more details, and also check out the playlist that I have. I'm so excited about this series that I am doing because I love doing the year end. I love doing the like year end sort of like, I don't know, series or seasonal type of videos. If you check my channel, most of my videos are like the end of the year type videos. The rest of the year, sometimes I don't post. But this year, I might coming in the next year. You might see me around a little bit more. But that's because I like to do deep work with the women who choose to come on board. So if you're one of those women that want to work deeper with me, or again, learn how to do a fertility reset, or even how you can get your own yoni steam or fertility teas, I'd love to connect with you. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. So thank you for watching, and look forward to seeing you in another one. Take care.